John chapter 5. We have a real I think last time, which would have been 2 weeks ago, we ended with Jesus healing the lame man at the pool. I think we started to go on past that. But what Jesus talks about in John chapter 5, 19 to the end of the chapter, is not it's hard teaching, and it's hard to understand everything that he's saying in these verses. So, maybe what I'll do is we'll read them first, and I'll back up, then we'll come back to these verses at the end. So let's read, starting in John chapter 5, verse 19, and I'll read to the end of the chapter. And like I say, if you feel confused, that's a good thing, because you won't be alone. It's hard to understand a lot of what Jesus is saying here. Verse 19, Jesus gave them this answer. I tell you the truth, the Son of Man can do nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees his Father doing. Because whatever the Father does, the Son also does. For the Father loves the Son and shows him all he does. Yes, to your amazement, he will show him even greater things than these. For just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, even so the Son gives life to whom he is pleased to give it. Moreover, the Father judges no one, but even has entrusted all judgment to the Son, that all may honor the Son just as they honor the Father. He who does not honor the Son does not honor the Father who sent him. I tell you the truth. Whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be condemned. He has crossed over from death to life. I tell you the truth. The time is coming and has now come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son to have life in himself. And he has given him authority to judge because he is the Son of Man. Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in the graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done good will rise to live, and those who have done evil will rise to be condemned. By myself I can do nothing. I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just. For I seek not to please myself, but him who sent me. If I testify about, now Jesus is going on, continuing to talk about himself. If I testify about myself, my testimony is not valid. There is another who testifies in my favor, and I know that his testimony about me is valid. You have sent to John, and he has testified to the truth. Not that I accept human testimony, but I mention it that you may be saved. John was a lamp that burned and gave light, and you chose for a time to enjoy his light. I have testimony weightier than that of John. For the very work that the Father has given me to finish, and which I am doing, testifies that the Father has sent me. And the Father who sent me has himself testified concerning me. You have never heard his voice, nor seen his form. Nor does his word dwell in you, for you do not believe the one who he sent. You diligently study the Scriptures because you think that by them you possess eternal life. These are the Scriptures that testify about me. yet you refuse to come to me to have life. I do not accept praise from man, but I know you. I know that you do not have the love of God in your hearts. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not accept me. But if someone else comes in his own name, you will accept him. How can you believe if you accept praise from one another, yet make no effort to obtain the praise that comes from the only God? But do not think I will accuse you before the Father. Your accuser is Moses, on whom your hopes are set. If you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote about me. But since you do not believe what he wrote, how are you going to believe what I say? Jesus gave him a pretty bad indictment in these verses. It wasn't good what he was saying to them. So, interject your own life into that. And we'll talk more about that later, but I want to talk about a couple of other things that will hopefully make those verses easier to get a hold of when we talk about it. So, I have put, and you can read a lot about the sovereignty of God, but I've tried to condense it so that it'll make sense to us in the context of what we're going to talk about in the verses that Jesus spoke in John chapter 5. So, God is the source of all creation, and all things come from and depend on God. This is some of what is meant by the sovereignty of God. He's the creator. He created it all. And all things come from and depend on God. This is with or without their knowledge. God's sovereignty doesn't depend on what you believe or what you know. It is who He is. He is sovereign.